We're on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and on today's show, we're going to preview every single game, give you my predictions, as well as my predictions for the rest of the postseason and how things will shake out of who will ultimately be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy when it's all said and done. Before we do, some of you may be sitting back at home and your team is out of this whole thing. Who is the team you'll want to lose the most? Because I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are now just cheering against teams rather than rooting for their own team. Shout out the team you want to lose the most in the comments section, and we'll get started with today's show. The divisional round begins this Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The Houston Texans taking on the Baltimore Ravens from Baltimore. And this will be the first time we see the Baltimore Ravens this postseason. The Texans coming off a great win last week against the Cleveland Browns. The nightcap on Saturday, two very familiar teams. The Green Bay Packers squaring off with the San Francisco 49ers on Fox at 8:15 in prime time. Jordan Love trying to win back-to-back road games after putting a shellacking on the Dallas Cowboys last week. Brock Purdy went to the NFC Championship game last year. Can he get there for the second year in a row? We shall see. Then on Sunday, the Bucs take on the Lions on the Peacock Network, not the streaming service. And that game should be very interesting. Baker Mayfield going on the road, winning a game where they dominated last week against the Eagles. The Lions won an emotional game last week. Their first home playoff game ever at Ford Field. And with Stafford coming back, now how do they adjust accordingly? And then the game, I think, the best game of the weekend, Bills and Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes' first ever road playoff game, taking on a Bills team that this has been their kryptonite, getting past the divisional round. Can they do it this time as they host Patrick Mahomes and company? The Bills have been as hot as any team in the National Football League the last few weeks. 4 really good games, I might add, coming up this weekend. What is the best matchup in the divisional round this week? I think it's Bills-Chiefs personally. What do you guys think? Weigh in. Tell me in the comments section what game you are most looking forward to. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more. Best seats for the lowest prices, guaranteed. Here's how it works. Download Game Time. Get $20 off with that promo code NFL Chat on your first purchase. And you choose the event you want to go to, then the seat, see if you like the seat or not. And then from there, you're checking out, getting your tickets with Apple Pay, Google Pay, number of easy ways to get your tickets with Game Time. Don't deal with those sketchy scalpers out there. Keep it safe and simple with Game Time. And terms and conditions do apply. Link is in the comments and description of today's video. Start saving with Game Time today. Get $20 off. Promo code NFL Chat. Download Game Time today. You'll be glad you did. Now, let's get to our picks for all 4 games on today's show. And it is worth noting, before I give you my picks, last week I went 5-1. Cowboys let me down. I should have known to never trust the Cowboys in the playoffs. But let's see how we do this week with our picks. Let's get rich, kids. Let's get started with the Texans taking on the Ravens. That game in Baltimore Saturday afternoon. I know there's been a lot of questions over the years about Lamar Jackson come playoff time. Can Lamar get it done in the postseason? Well, the other side, you have a Houston Texans team that I think personally is playing with nothing to lose. They aren't supposed to be here, right? And that's dangerous for any team to deal with when you're presenting with that situation. I know that they've had 2 weeks off. I don't expect the Ravens to come out rusty at all. I think you're going to see Lamar play at the MVP level we've seen all season. I think that the Ravens defense is going to hold their own. They've been the best defense in the league this year. I don't have any concern about the Ravens winning this one, taking care of business at home. John Harbaugh is going to have the boys ready. I like the Ravens to win 34-27 over the Houston Texans and advance to the AFC Championship game, which then they would be hosting at home. Who do you got? You going with the Ravens or are you going with the Texans? Type BAL for Ravens, type HOU for the Houston Texans. Let us know in the comments section. Then we head to Santa Clara for the Packers and the Niners. The Packers last week shocked the world with a dominating win against the Dallas Cowboys on the road. The San Francisco 49ers, this is a team that's been competitive for a long time now, but still is waiting to bring home that Super Bowl title under Kyle Shanahan. They've been awfully close, but is this their year? That remains to be seen. Much like the Ravens, how will the Niners look coming off the bye week? What version of Brock Purdy we're going to get? If I'm going to be honest with you, the Packers have the better quarterback in this game in Jordan Love. But I like the team in San Francisco much better than I do this Green Bay Packers team. That San Francisco 49ers defense, all the skill position players. I think Green Bay is riding a nice momentum wave. They should make it interesting, but the 49ers aren't going to be losing this game at home. I'll go with San Fran 31-24. Who do you got? You going with Green Bay or are you going with San Francisco? If you're rolling with the Packers, type GB. If you're going with San Francisco, type SF. Let's head to Detroit now, where the Lions are set to square off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I got to tell you, the Lions last week, that emotional game, bringing Stafford back, first home playoff game at Ford Field and all that, that was a lot. Now, if you're the Detroit Lions, I feel like you can almost play free of some sorts. You've got that monkey off your back. Now you can just go out there and play football. This Tampa Bay Bucs team, credit where credit's due. Baker played great last week, and that defense looked really good against Philly. But if we're going to be fair about that game, the Philadelphia Eagles had looked so bad the last few weeks that performance, I think, had just as much to do with Philadelphia's struggles as it did how well Tampa Bay played. With that said, I think Detroit's a better football team. I think Dan Campbell's going to have the guys ready. You took care of business last week. Should be competitive. I lean towards Detroit to win at home. 24-20 is my official pick. Who do you got in this game? You going with the Bucs or are you going with the Lions? Type TB for the Buccaneers. Type DET for the Detroit Lions. Let us know in the comments section. And finally, the game of the weekend, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Patrick Mahomes in his first ever road playoff game taking on Josh Allen. These two teams met a couple of years ago in the AFC Divisional Round and gave us one of the greatest NFL playoff games of all time. The Chiefs won in overtime. Patrick Mahomes and company got the touchdown on their first possession of overtime. Josh Allen did not get to touch the football in overtime. Since that game, the overtime rules have changed in the postseason. Now, both teams are guaranteed at least one possession in overtime. Could that make the difference this time? The Chiefs, their receiving core, has struggled. They have not been good throughout much of this year, but they've been carried by their defense. Their defense has played really good. Rashee Rice had a nice breakthrough game last week. Of course, you still have Travis Kelce. Very curious what type of hotel room Taylor Swift ends up with in Buffalo. That's a whole nother story. Meanwhile, on the Buffalo Bills side of things, they are red hot right now. And credit where credit's due to Sean McDermott for making the change at the OC position to move on from Ken Dorsey, hand the reins over to Joe Brady, who did a phenomenal job several years ago helping lead the LSU Tigers to a national championship as their OC. Josh Allen looks good. The run game with Cook and company is really clicking. The skill positions are there. I really like the tight end combination with Buffalo of what they're doing with those guys as well. I lean towards Buffalo. Very good game. Buffalo takes care of business at home. This is a team that's going to be hungry. They're going to have something to prove. I'll go with Buffalo in a close one, 28-25. Who you got? You going with the Chiefs or are you going with the Buffalo Bills? I'm leaning towards the Bills. Let me know which team you like in the comments section. Now, let's go through our picks for the AFC and the NFC Championship. I like the Ravens to beat the Bills in the AFC Championship at home. Nobody's playing better football than the Baltimore Ravens. They are looking very good. I think the Bills would be a big challenge, but the Ravens look like a complete championship caliber football team. I think they would win a close one against Buffalo in the AFC Championship. In the NFC Championship, Niners and Lions would be a hell of a football game. But I think one flaw, the difference between this matchup, would be that the Detroit Lions defense is not that great. While the Niners look like a complete team, edge goes to the Niners. They win the NFC. In the Super Bowl, I'm sticking with my original pick before this whole thing began. We're going with the logo theory. We got the Ravens defeating the 49ers to win their third Super Bowl in franchise history, their first Super Bowl title since 2012. What is going to be the Super Bowl matchup? Who are the two teams in it, and who wins the whole thing? Way in the comments section, tell us who you think that will ultimately be, and we shall see you next time right here on NFL Daily.